Good morning, folks, from a cool morning here in Sydney. I'm in a nice quiet backyard. Not easy necessarily to find a quiet spot to do a blog like this. You don't want to be bothering people, and I do my best not to. It's certainly a little bit quieter than it was yesterday, but at the end of the day, it's all about the news stories, right? Now, just a quick note, I won't be able to do tomorrow's usual Saturday morning live program. So we're having a week off. I'm having 2 days break, and then we'll be back into our normal program next week as we have a few light drips of water. I hope that doesn't continue. Anyway, into the program, and we start with a story about Thai Airways. And from the Bangkok Post, court approves new Thai rehab plan. A revised plan reflects better than expected recovery and sets stage for financial restructuring. Well, I'm a little bit bemused by this story because things are not good at Thai Airways, and there's quite a lot of code in this story, so let's persist. And also interested to see that the programmatic advertising, which is the advertising that Google puts in between paragraphs on stories for publishers with Google AdSense, it's advertising cheap flights to Melbourne, Bangkok and Coolangatta, Bangkok. Completely in competition with Thai Airways. But the story says the Central Bankruptcy Court has approved the revision business reorganisation plan of Thai Airways, setting in motion its full financial restructuring process. And down the bottom there, executives overseeing the rehabilitation said at the time the revised plan reflected a better than expected recovery from the most financially trying period in the flag carrier's history. As the rain persists here, it certainly has been. Of course, Thai Airways was not in a good situation before COVID-19. There was a lot of debt. In fact, the debt just kept on increasing year after year. And the decade before COVID-19, it just was building up an incredible amount of debt. Because the airline was still majority owned by the Thai government, the Thai government was having to put its hand in its pockets every year to bail out the airline. That's not the case anymore, since the airline now has sold its majority shareholding and is now a minor shareholder in the airline, albeit that minor shareholding still way over 40%. Further to the story, and says with its business plan given the all clear by the court, Thai will proceed with hiring a financial advisor to prepare details of a debt to equity conversion and recapitalisation worth 25 billion baht to be completed over the next 2 years. A whole lot of gobbledygook saying they've got to restructure it to try and pay back some of the debt that's been built up. The national carrier has undergone a massive downsizing as part of the plan to bring its headcount and fleet size more in line with business expectations. The article says that staff members have been reduced from 29,000 down to 14,400, and that includes 3,800 crew members. We should also note that it has cut out a lot of the middle and upper management, which was very fat at Thai Airways. I mean, what's happened really over the past 2 years is they've slowly been able to turn the airline into a functioning airline that can even perhaps operate under the current conditions of fairly low tourist numbers. So it's been a long time coming for Thai Airways, which has been racking up an incredible amount of debt over the past 2 decades. The article also says the airline has also dramatically downsized its fleet of 103 planes. It's sold or is in the process of selling 45 jets, which will leave it with just 58 aircraft, including 3 leased Boeing 777-300ERs. We'll talk more about that in a moment, with a great deal of code for obvious reasons, which may or may not become apparent. But talking about those 45 jets that it's still trying to sell, a lot of them are sort of old-style jets, including like Boeing 747s, the jumbo jet, the 400 series, which airlines really aren't wanting to use these days because, well, they're not economical compared to a lot of the more modern twin-aisle jets. It says the airlines added 3 more 777-300ER aircraft to its fleet after taking delivery of them this week. Now, we should be aware that those aircraft are not really going to be used for us common old tawdry passengers. They have another purpose, which I probably can't really discuss in much detail. In April this year, the aircraft took delivery of 3 Boeing 777ERs to meet the growing demand for flights. The jets are serving lucrative long-haul routes, according to the airline. Well, we should note that when Thai Airways announced its winter schedule, which covers basically the next 6 months, it didn't announce any additional routes except to India. So this so-called increased demand, well, we imagine that they're starting to fill up the cabin more than they did in the past, but they're certainly not adding more flights. So the question remains, why do they need more planes? Down the bottom there, the airline's cabin factor has climbed to a solid 80% since the beginning of the year. The number of passengers flying the airline has grown an average 17,000 per day compared to just over 2,000 per day in January. The number is expected to rise during Christmas and New Year holidays, what we call here in Thailand the high season. So there has been 3 new aircraft delivered this week, but you and I won't be flying on them. You're watching the TNT program, and we are very grateful for you dropping in, saying hello. Please, if you get a moment, subscribe to the channel. We do this 5 days a week. It comes out usually around about 9 to 9:30 a.m. Thai time. But over the past couple of weeks when I've been doing the program from Australia, it's been coming out at all sorts of crazy times of the day because I can't work out what the time is in Thailand compared to here, and neither, it seems, can the computer. Here's a bit of footage that might make you laugh or have a bit of a giggle anyway. This is just a normal average day in a Thai school. One kid there, very brave, not sure if I'd be recommending that. So I think they found this. It looks like a sort of a python, and just showing off to the other students, this is my snake skills. I think he's got quite a future coming up. So the sort of thing that happens at a Thai school that probably doesn't happen in your school. Not sure what you were doing whilst you were at school, probably sneaking around the shelter shed for a quick cigarette. But in Thailand, they get a bit braver than that. Moving on to our next story from Thai PBS World, and engineers urgently working to restore power to the Phuket International Airport. This is somewhat a nice, pleasant segue from aircraft to the problems in Phuket. Engineers urgently working to restore power to the Phuket International Airport. The PEA were working hard yesterday to restore power to the island's international airport after 10 high-tension utility poles were felled due to heavy rain on Wednesday night. We know that rain has been persisting in Phuket, not as heavy as it was last Saturday night, which set the start to this whole horror story for the island. But indeed, the power poles did go down. There was power cut to the airport. I'm not sure whether it actually stopped flights for a while. I'm sure they probably couldn't check in passengers if they couldn't get power. The collapse of the poles caused a power outage in the immediate area. Officials say they had to cut power supply to the airport as well, while engineers worked to re-erect the utility poles and restore the power supply. We understand the power supply is back at the airport. Also noting that the old Phuket Road from Tepkasatri Road creeping along the beach there to the airport, that has been closed at various times due to many poles falling over, not just this main utility pole. And just the last 2 paragraphs there, a 200-metre stretch of the road from Katu, it's Katu, not Klatu, to Patong, has collapsed following a landslide yesterday, and the governor saying that the road is important, especially during the high tourist season, and must be repaired and reopened immediately. Well, the governor's idea of immediately and mine might be different, so we thought we had to ask you, what do you think will be the repair process for the Patong Hill Road? Now, I'm sure many of you have gone over it over the years, probably many times during your visit to the island. I mean, people staying in Patong, to go sort of anywhere, you really have to go over the Patong Hill Road. If you're going for a tour, you're going to one of the islands. So that road, well used and well abused, and many accidents and deaths, very sadly, over the years. How long is it going to take? This is what you thought in the survey we did yesterday on TNT. 47% of you thought it will happen sometime next year. Then we said, well, maybe by the end of the year. Others thought it might be the end of November. Some of you, the end of October, And some very, very enthusiastic, optimistic people said, well, just 1 week. I don't really share your optimism, but there you are. That's the results of the survey we conducted on TNT yesterday. Here's another view of the road going up. This is somebody got their drone out and showing the devastation on the road. You can see the road pretty much a whole lane has gone, and the rest of the uphill lane not looking particularly good. In fact, that whole road's probably likely to go some time if it was just sort of left to nature and there was any more rain. So the road just in bits and pieces traversing down the hill, dragging irrigation pipes, drainage pipes along the way. You can really see that there's not much under around about 9 inches of tar. There's not much additional support given to that road. There's the sort of the makeshift areas the officials have set up as they carry out their inspections. I'm sure they're being very enthusiastic about trying to find a way to get that road as open as soon as possible, but not looking good at the moment. That 100 or 200 metre section of the road pretty much destroyed. And there's also been additional flooding, of course, around the island. Cars still pushing their way through, up to a metre of water in some places. So work continuing by the Phuket Hotels Association and their Phuket Flood Relief Project to get urgently needed clothing, food, foldable mattresses, even medication and water out to the worst affected areas of the island, which has isolated some 150 communities and affected directly around about 6,000 people. So some urgent work still needed there. A bit of an essay now. This is the road in Kalim, the road out of Patong towards Kamala on the west coast of Phuket. A bit of a photo essay from the Newshawk Phuket people. That's their Facebook page. And police saying, no, you can't go to Kamala. The road has been intermittently open and then closed. There has been continuing landslides along the road. And police saying to people, no, you can't really go any further. You're going to have to turn around. So Patong certainly cut off on the Patong Hill Road and only getting intermittent traffic from Kamala into Patong. The only other way to get into Patong is they have to go all the way south to Chalong, turn right at the Chalong Circle, up over the Kata Road, and then along the rather slow track through Kata Karon and over the hill into Patong. So if you want to get a taxi from the airport, it's going to cost you a pretty penny if you want to get to Patong at the moment. So some big challenges for the party town there, and our thoughts to all the people, especially the tour operators, the hotel owners, all the staff and the shop owners who are trying to recover from 2 years of no tourist activity to now having a new additional challenge. This is the TNT program. Thank you very much for dropping in, and we're fighting a bit of a damp morning here in Sydney. Now there were 3 telcos in Thailand. There was AIS, DTAC and True. I'm with True. I've been with True for 11 years, never had any problem, but they've merged with one of the other regulators. So let's go through this story in the Bangkok Post. Regulator paves way for Telecom mega merger. The country's telecommunications regulator has cleared the way for the second and third largest operators, that's True and DTAC, to merge, but with conditions. The conditions include price ceiling and price controls, according to the NBTC. The long-awaited decision comes nearly a year after the deal was first announced. Other conditions on the merger reportedly include requiring independent verification of the operator's cost structure and service fees for the last 5 years. Service rates such as voice, data and messaging must be shown separately and based on average cost pricing, blah, blah, blah. So apparently they're going to put some measures to regulate this now. Duopoly will have AIS, the biggest telco operator in Thailand, and now we'll have this mega merger of the 2 companies, True and DTAC. Just a very quick note, being here in Australia and comparing the quality of the telco services, Thailand's data is much faster, certainly 5G, and much cheaper as well compared to where I am at the moment. So just a little thing I thought I'd mention. A story from The Nation saying the global recession inevitable next year, according to the APEC finance ministers, expressing concern over that matter. The APEC conference has sort of started quietly. This is all the finance ministers from the APEC countries coming to Bangkok to start the meeting, the main meeting when all the cameras will be out, when the world leaders will be here, is on November the 18th and the 19th. And Thai officials have already expressed a lot of concern over the potential for protests, especially if one particular president of one particular large country which invaded Ukraine earlier this year comes along. The chairperson for the meeting saying that in addition to being concerned about the global recession, they were concerned about high inflation caused by rising energy and food prices, as well as the public debt of each government, which is increasing exponentially due to the need to recover from the COVID pandemic. Just noting, as I did the other day, that Thailand didn't really put its hands in its pockets much during the COVID pandemic. And down the bottom there, each country will be affected differently. Thailand's economy is expected to grow by 3.7% next year, up from 3.5% this year. I have no idea how the economy has done that well. But then again, of course, they've been manufacturing cars, and cars have been in demand around the world. And further to that article, it says Hong Kong will return soon, while China has stated they'll need more time to settle things in order to be more certain. They still have the zero COVID policy officially in China, making it virtually impossible for general tourists to return to the country because of things like quarantine and just the problems with their passports at the moment. So we're not going to see any Chinese tourists anytime soon. And down the bottom, the spokesperson, the chairman, insisted that the meeting atmosphere was friendly and cheerful, but refused to discuss one of the meeting's most divisive topics, the Russia-Ukraine war. As I said, if Vladimir Putin does come to the APEC conference on November the 18th and 19th in Bangkok, I think we can expect widespread protests and general problems. And I think it'll be a really bad look for Thailand if he comes and is invited by the government and shown much hospitality. And in the Nation Thailand Twitter feed, the White House has refused to confirm whether the US Vice President Kamala Harris will be attending the APEC summit in place of President Joe Biden. So who knows who's going to be representing the United States. And whilst we're on the Twitter feed there of the Nation Thailand, approval being sought soon from the Cabinet for a pilot project to allow bars on a Phuket walking street to remain open until 4 a.m. This proposal from the Tourism Minister, that's been continuing for some 6 months after they were allowed to open officially till 2 a.m. They're now saying they want to be open officially until 4 a.m. Of course, most of the most attended bars are open till that time anyway. And the, what do they call it? A Phuket walking street. It's actually got a name. It's called Bangla Road. But of course, they do want to be as official as they can, so they don't have to pay out too much tea money to stay open longer. And with that, with people having their breakfast here in front of me, I'll say thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for being part of the program during the week. It is very challenging actually to do this program on the road, much harder than I thought, and I'll have to have a rethink about travelling the program much in Thailand. It's really much easier when you've got everything set up, unless I do the program somehow differently. Anyway, that's something that I'll try and work out in the future. It's been great having you with us, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Reminding you I won't be around tomorrow for the live program at 9 a.m, so I'll give you Saturday morning off, and I look forward to seeing you all again on Monday.